Hi, today we're going to try to make our drawings look a little more realistic, and one way to do that is by utilizing something called perspective. In this case it's one-point perspective. One-point perspective has been around since the early Renaissance, when Brunelleschi, an Italian architect in Florence, developed the ability to draw things realistically for the first time in linear perspective. Before that, as you can see in this example, the Roman painters of the time had an idea that as lines went away from us, they kind of went off at angles, but they really didn't organize their thoughts to create what we now know as linear perspective drawing. Brunelleschi did this around the mid-1300s. So we're going to see a really basic execution of the concept that should be able to help you draw a little bit better. Alright, we're going to start by talking about where the earth meets the sky. We all know that that is called the horizon. So we're going to start the horizon, drawing the horizon by putting in a horizontal line. You can use a straight edge if you want. I'm just doing this really kind of fast, footloose and fancy-free. This would be the sky, this would be the earth. This is the horizon line. And if you notice, the word horizon is part of the word horizontal. So we know things that go left to right are horizontal. The other word that we're concerned with before we go further than this is the word vertical. And vertical are lines that go up and down. They are perpendicular to the horizon all the time. Okay, we have the earth over here and the sky over here, and now we're going to talk about perspective. An easy example of this is railroad tracks. We all know that railroad tracks are parallel to each other at all times, otherwise the train would fall off the tracks. And if we were standing on railroad tracks looking off into the distance and those two tracks were parallel, might we see something like this? Because those would be parallel lines, we probably would not be seeing something like this, would we? It doesn't look very realistic. One-point perspective tells us that as we stand on the railroad tracks and look off into the distance, we see something like this. That is linear one-point perspective. The place where the two railroad tracks appear to meet is on the horizon line, and the point itself is called the vanishing point. That's really important. We'll be using the vanishing point a lot in this lesson. The most basic thing we can do in doing linear perspective, other than the railroad tracks it is to draw a box in one-point perspective. And here's how you're going to do it. We have our vanishing point, we have our horizon line. In the lower left-hand quadrant of your paper, off to the side, make a rectangle. So, we'll begin by making a rectangle in the lower left-hand quadrant of the paper, quite off to the side and below the horizon line. After you make that rectangle, just for our purposes, you can kind of mark off the three corners of the rectangle that are closest to the vanishing point. And then with a straight line, using a straight edge if you want, you're going to connect those three corners to the vanishing point. Okay, we have the beginnings of linear perspective here. Now, the next thing we're going to do is somewhere along this center line here, I want you to decide on a point and just make it a dot anywhere along that line. And between this line going back to perspective and that line going back to perspective, over here we have a horizontal line. So from this point, I want you to make a horizontal line also. And from this line, where we've drawn that point, to this line, we have a vertical. So at this point, I want you to draw a vertical. Now, your brain will want you to draw that line this way. It will want you to connect those two lines in the shortest way possible. Don't do it. Don't give in to your brain. All right, you have to make sure the vertical is vertical. This is no good. Then after you've done that, you can just come in with an eraser, and you don't have to obliterate these lines. You just knock them down so you can see that you've created a box in 1 point perspective. I want you to put a box all the way up here in the top right hand corner, another rectangle. Until we get better, we're going to do those 3 corners. Again, the 3 corners that are closest to this vanishing point. Then I want you to connect those 3 corners with straight lines. Now we're over here, we have our rectangle. We have our 3 corners marked out that are closest to the vanishing point. We've connected those 3 corners to the vanishing point with straight lines. Now we're going to select a point along this center line. And from this line to this line, we're going to create a vertical. And from this line to this line, we're going to create a horizontal. And now we have another box that is in 1 point perspective. Now you're going to notice something. This box, we can see the bottom of it. This box, we can see the top of it. So the horizon line is not only the horizon line, it is also the eye level line. Anything above the eye level line, we see the bottom of. Anything below the eye level line, we see the top of. Let's throw another little thing into the mix here. I am going to make a rectangle right on my eye level line. Now there are only 2 corners that are closest to the vanishing point and 2 corners that are equally away from it. So I'm going to make a point here and a point there. Okay, with this box that is on the eye level line, I have the 2 points marked out. I'm going to connect that one with a straight line. I'm going to connect this one with a straight line. Somewhere along here, I'm going to make a point. I'm going to put in a vertical. Now I'm going to eliminate, I'll use a clean eraser, eliminate that horizon line because we can't see through the box. And now we have a box that is on the eye level line. When a box is on the eye level line, you can only see 1 or 2 sides of it. You can't see 3 sides. You can't see the top or the bottom. Okay, we've just looked at drawing boxes in 1 point perspective. Now we're going to look at drawing the inside of a box, essentially a room. A room is just a box, the inside of a box. So we're going to look at how to do that if you wanted to draw an interior with couches or windows. Let's take a look at how we do this. We still have the horizon line, eye level line. We still have the vanishing point. Now we're going to draw one wall of the room. This line is, again, remember it's called the eye level line. So watch, just to illustrate that. If someone was standing in a room, that'd be about equal with their eyes. There's your eye level line. Here is the vanishing point, except we're not drawing this way. We are going to extend out from the vanishing point to the corner of the room and then draw a line out. We're going to do the same thing down here. And then draw a line out. We're going to do the same thing down here. Draw a line out. And the same thing here. And now what we have, let me get rid of some of these lines here. is a ceiling. A floor. A wall. A wall. And a wall. Inside of a room. Vertical line. Vertical line. Here's our vanishing point. Vanishing point. Have to finish that up a little bit more. And essentially, we have a window. Okay, now we have our empty room. We should put a little piece of furniture in there. Most things that we have fit into boxes. So we're going to make a couch, and the couch, we're going to fit that couch into a 1-point perspective box. Watch what I do. I'm making a rectangle down over here. And that's going to be one side of the box that our couch fits into. Remember, 3-point perspective. Remember from the other page. These are the 3 corners closest to the vanishing point. To the vanishing point. To the vanishing point. To the vanishing point. That looks familiar. A vertical line. A horizontal line. Remember we did that center point. Verticals are always vertical. We're going to vertical over here. Now here's the box our couch is going to be in. So let me eliminate some of these other lines so it doesn't get too confusing. Our couch goes in this box. The side of the couch do it really basic, is going to be like that. We have another corner here. This corner goes to the vanishing point. Whatever happens here, that's basically our vertical and our horizontal. Vertical here. After we hit that point, it goes horizontal. We can take these 2 points and put a little corner there, and you can get more elaborate as you wish. You can put cushions here if you want. And now we're going to eliminate some of those lines, and we're going to see a really basic couch. Just beef that up a little bit for you so you can see it. And there's the couch in our room. If you want to put a doorway, the doorways are typically about the same height as a window. So we're going to come down to here. Now, if this is going to be the height, we're going to come across a horizontal over here. Vertical. Vertical. And there is our doorway. Put a little doorknob. We're going to put a rug in. And the rug will consist of a horizontal edge over here, a horizontal edge over here, and here's our vanishing point. Remember, there's our vanishing point. I'll just put it VP, and we're going to come down this way. And we're going to come down this way. And there's the rug. The inside of a room in 1-point perspective. Let's take our 1-point perspective boxes and turn them into a little made-up picture. I'm drawing this horizon line a little bit lighter, but again we have the horizon line. We have the vanishing point. This time I'm going back and I'm going to put our railroad tracks back in. So we're putting our railroad tracks in. go to the vanishing point. We're just going to crudely put in the railroad ties. Those are the wood that goes in between the tracks. And as they get further away, they get closer together. Now we're going to make a 1-point perspective box over here. And the box is going to be, guess what, over the top of the eye level line. So you're only going to see the front and side of it. And there's a rectangle. And we're going to go to the vanishing point here. And we're going to go to the vanishing point there, because these are the only two corners that are close to the vanishing point. And then we're going to decide on a point along here, and we're going to put another vertical in. And we're making a house. And to make this house over here, we have to put a point of the house in over the roof line right there. And from the top of this roof line, I'm going to go to that vanishing point. And whatever happens between this and this line here, which is that, happens between that and that line here, which is that. Now we have a house on the side of the railroad tracks. The house should have a window in it, vertical, vertical, to the vanishing point, to the vanishing point. There's a window. We can do a door. Remember that usually the same height as the window, generally. Vertical, vertical. This is also going to the vanishing point. And the bottom of the door goes to the vanishing point also. Put a center beam for that window, and we're going to go to the vanishing point with that also. So we have a house on the side of the railroad tracks, and now we are going to put in a line of telephone poles. So we're just going to put our guidelines for the telephone poles. Telephone poles are always vertical. Vertical line, vertical line, vertical line, vertical line, and you can make these as far apart or as close as you want. I'm just kind of pushing it here so we can have a good sense of what's going on. Make this point, you're going to bring it all the way down to the vanishing point so we know where each cross beam goes, right where it crosses that vertical, and another cross beam. All the telephone poles end along that line going to the vanishing point. They all stop at the top along the line going to the vanishing point. And if you want, you can kind of drape some lines along here. Remember, as these poles get further apart, just like the railroad ties, they get closer together. There's more lessons on that to come. But for now, I think this is fine for you. Here's our horizon. Let's get rid of the rest of these lines that go into the vanishing points there. Put a mountain in the back if you want. Vertical. That means they always go directly up and down. One thing you want to remember when doing drawings in 1-point perspective is that vertical lines are always vertical. They always go straight up and down. They never lean, not even a little bit. That will throw your whole drawing off. The other thing is that most things can fit into boxes. And when you're drawing boxes in 1-point perspective, you only use 3 kinds of lines. You use horizontal lines, you use vertical lines, and you use lines that go to the vanishing point. So you can be creative as you want. Go out and draw some boxes, put things in them like we did with the couch, or we made the house, and that's it. Okay, I've prepared a little demonstration of just exactly how 1-point perspective works. We have a couple of tables over here in my art room. As you know, tables are rectangular, meaning opposite sides are always parallel. The 2 long sides are parallel to each other, the 2 short sides are parallel to each other, and that extends to the other table also. All right, what I've done is I've created a vanishing point back on my shelf back there with a horizon line, also known as the eye level line, and I'm going to do a demonstration of how these parallel lines of the table seem to go to the vanishing point. I have some duct tape here, and I've attached some strings to my vanishing point. And now I'm going to bring this string and I'm going to tape it right over here to the corner of the table. I'm going to take the other string, I'm going to tape it to the corner of this table. And at this point, when your camera lens is on the same level as the horizon line and you look down at the vanishing point, you should see the edges of these tables that are parallel to each other should start to align with this string. The string is probably a really fine line for you, but this should just about align with it on this side, and this edge of the table should about align with the string on this side. Okay, so that is the essence of what one-point perspective is. It is the illusion that these parallel lines seem to be getting closer together as they go off into the distance. As parallel lines move away from you, they appear to get closer together, even though in reality they don't.